Do the stats gained from Datacrons impact the combat effectiveness of a low-level character? In the Guide to Datacrons video, we looked at stats, and it made me wonder, how much difference is there really? Time to deconstruct the difference Datacron stat bonuses make to new character combat.
Deconstruction Gaming.
In this game deconstruction, we will explore the listed topics, analyzing the impact Datacron stats have on low-level character combat. Is Star Wars The Old Republic a hard game to play? The answers vary from person to person, but there is a discrepancy in opinion. So what's the difference? What's the difference between that player that asks in general chat for help on a particular piece of content, and that other player who responds to them, "That's easy, why don't you just solo that?" As I looked at Datacrons and the stats that they give, I started to wonder, do these stats really make a difference? Is it just down to the experience of a veteran player? Or does a new character that a veteran player has with all the Datacrons have a distinct advantage over a brand new character? The goal of this video is to analyze the impact Datacron stats have on combat effectiveness. In order to do that, we need to set up some testing parameters. The first parameter is we're only going to use the starting gear that both characters came with. So we're starting with 2 commandos, and they will have the exact same gear all the way through the tests, so 5 levels, no gear changes. The second is we're not going to train any abilities. We're going to only go with the abilities that we started with, that way we don't get any passive damage increases and different things like that, again to isolate the differences that we get from only Datacron collection. The third is we're not going to use any buffs. So if you look at the buff tray here, you'll notice that there are no buffs. That way we don't actually get any bonuses related to those. We're going to use a single attack, in this case charge bolts. Charge bolts is a 1.5 second attack, and it will actually just be spammed over and over and over again. We are going to allow the characters to use recharge cells, which will actually give them energy cells back, and if they drop low on health, we'll allow them to use a med pack. Our goal here, again, is to isolate the amount of damage being done by the character. Another difference is we are only going to measure hits. So if a character misses and gets a 0, we are not going to average that into the data. So that would be a damage per second calculation. We're going to do a damage per hit calculation. Again, our goal here is to isolate the amount of damage a shot does based off of the Datacron stat increase, not how often you hit or anything like that. We're going to do 5 attack runs per level, so that'll be 25 total attack runs as the character levels from level 2 to level 6, all against Captain Ethan Remack here. Obviously, if you're playing the game, you're going to gear your character up and train skills to be as effective as you can in combat. We're trying to compare the characters and isolate their damage output, so that's why we're keeping all these parameters the same. So who is Captain Remack? Captain Ethan Remack is an elite commando NPC who guards the White Matrix Shard Datacron on Ord Mantell. We chose this NPC because he has plenty of hit points to give us a good sample size for our combat data points. Captain Remack would represent a challenge to a new player if they found him through exploration. His MO is to debuff, dot, and then attack, giving you an early window where you're not taking damage, but then the damage builds up over time. We start our tests at level 2. The exploration experience that you gain on your walk to find Captain Remack will actually level you up to level 2. Okay, now it's time to get to the meat of what this video is about, the data analysis. We could start by opening each individual character sheet for both characters as they leveled up from level 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, looking at the different numbers and trying to figure out, okay, the all Datacrons character has bigger numbers, the no Datacrons character has smaller numbers. What does that mean? This is a little bit hard to do, so we're going to boil this down into some charts. The first thing we're going to do is take all of these combat numbers and we're going to put them into a spreadsheet. Here you can see that we've actually translated all those numbers into some charts. On the top here we have the no Datacrons numbers. On the bottom here we have all Datacrons numbers. We've included level 1 just for completeness, because that will allow us to see where the character started, although we did run our tests on levels 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So over here you can see no Datacrons lower numbers, all Datacrons higher numbers, but we've actually compared them over here as well. And you can really start to see the discrepancy between these numbers. The most interesting thing out of all of this is probably, if you look at the level 6 of no Datacrons, it doesn't catch up to the level 1 of all Datacrons. And that's true in every single one of these pieces of data. So a level 6 no Datacron character has lower stats than a brand new level 1 character with all Datacrons. We've included the charged burst information in here as well. That's the attack that we used for our tests, just for completeness. But again, these are just numbers. Do they translate to combat efficiency? So let's take a look at no Datacron's combat trials. Here you're going to see at each level, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, the 5 different combat runs that we did against Ethan Remack. The first thing is we weren't very successful in the beginning. The no Datacron's character just couldn't put out enough damage in order to beat the elite. Now this isn't surprising. A level 2 character probably shouldn't be fighting a level 6 elite, but that kind of stuff does happen, especially with a new player. You'll also see that they didn't get a lot of attacks in. This is because they got killed before they could get a lot of attacks in. Remember that more attacks actually happened, but we removed the zeros. So obviously a level 2 character attacking a level 6 character is going to miss more often just because of the way the combat works. You will see that we got our first kill in level 4. And interesting enough, it was exactly 970 points, so we just slipped by on that one. But even as we got up into level 5, we weren't 100% victorious. We had an all-out defeat, and we had one where both the elite and the player died. The elite actually died first, so we'll count that as a victory, but the dot that was on the player killed him as the elite went down. You'll also see the green numbers representing the critical hits, and then the rest of the numbers representing the bulk of the attacks. So how does this compare to what our all Datacrons character trials look like? The first thing you're going to notice here, no deaths. Even at level 2, the all Datacrons character was able to handle this level 6 elite. Not only that, the all Datacrons character did not have to use a single med pack. The all Datacrons character was able to kill the elite without having to heal. Now this is an advantage in that you don't have to buy as many med packs, but also if you're not using the med pack, you're getting more hits in. You'll also notice that the most hits that the all Datacrons character had to use was 10. If you go back to our no Datacrons character, it took a lot more hits in this mid tier to get there. So that's another telling thing. So obviously more successful, obviously doing better, but this is still just a lot of numbers. It's a lot of data to look at. So let's boil this down even farther. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to combine these all into one single chart. On the left hand side, you will see the no Datacrons characters raw data, and on the right hand side you'll see the all Datacrons raw data. This is actually color coded per level, so these two are being compared, these two are being compared, these two are being compared, and so on. So these numbers are not being compared with these numbers down here, because obviously as you go down the levels you're going to do more and more damage. What does this show? Well, we kind of knew all Datacrons was doing more damage than no Datacrons, but there is an interesting piece of data that shows up here. You see these little green spots. These represent high points for the no Datacron character, and if you start to look across, you'll see that these numbers actually match up to some of the numbers over here. These represent critical hits. So what we're seeing here is a no Datacron's character critical hits are basically the same as the average normal hits of the all Datacron character. And this is where this damage output has actually jumped up. These big critical hits help a lot, but it's the sustained damage that allows you to continue to kill things. So let's boil this down a little bit farther. So now we've taken averages of each trial and put them into a single chart, and we've added some features here. On the left hand side, we're comparing just these numbers. These are the no Datacron runs. You're going to notice, as expected, as we get higher level, our damage goes up. As we're at lower level, our damage goes down. We have a new indicator here. We have a down arrow, a minus sign, and an up arrow. The down arrow represents the bottom third of the data. The dash represents the middle third. The up green arrow represents the top third. Again, no surprise, the top damage is here on the higher levels. The low damage is here. Same thing for our all Datacron characters. So these are being compared separately. But now if we look over here, we start to see some interesting data. The top third of all damage being done is taking place with the all Datacrons, and the bottom third is being taken place by the no Datacrons. What's interesting here is our middle is shared between each other. Again, lots and lots of numbers, maybe a little hard to decipher, so let's boil this down another level. So here we see composite data based off of the average of the entire data set for each level. Again, the same way here, we would expect at the higher levels we're in our top third, at the lower levels we're in our bottom third, and the same holds true for our all Datacrons character. But once you start comparing the numbers as a whole, you see something very interesting. The average is here, all in the bottom third, all in the top third, but if you look at the level 6 average and the level 2 average, you're going to see something that is a little bit scary. The most damage that the level 6 is putting out on average represents the least damage that this character is putting out. That means a level 6 character with no Datacrons puts out less damage than a level 2 character with all the Datacrons. You'll notice this piece of data is marked in red. It's a little bit of a data anomaly. It just kind of happens from the combat. If we jump over to back to that sheet, we're going to see why. If you look at this level 3 run, you're going to see only 3 boxes that are green, as opposed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 boxes here, and 5 boxes here, and 5 boxes here. These represent critical hits. So it just so happens in this run there were less critical hits. So that means the average was a little bit lower. But if you take a look at any single line, 111 damage, 110 damage, 109, this is probably closer to where the data should be, but it just so happens that we had these 2 runs with no criticals, and that did have an impact on the number. So if we were going to look at that, most likely this number should be floating around 112, 113, but that's just how the data fell. Okay, so this got me curious. If my level 6 no Datacrons character isn't doing as much damage as my level 2 all Datacrons character, how long will it take in order to get there? So let's do some more levels. We've added level 7, 8, and 9 to our no Datacrons character and tracked their data. Extended out our bars over here. Some interesting things happen. If we look at the attack that we were using, at level 7, our no Datacrons character has finally caught up to a level 1 all Datacrons character. Now our all Datacrons character level 1 wasn't used in the data, but it does show you that we have finally caught up. If you look at the next number up, the first testing piece of data, so here you can see our no Datacrons character has finally surpassed our all Datacrons character. And for a future chart, you're going to notice that at level 9, we've actually surpassed level 3, and we'll talk about that, why that's a significant number in a minute. Same thing with the rest of the data. You're starting to see these numbers at level 9 get close to some of these, although some of them are still far apart. But that's just how the numbers fall. So let's look at our averages like we did before. So these are the new runs down here at the bottom. This data is the same as before, but we've just added level 7, 8, 9 to the bottom. What's interesting is you start to see the same pattern that we saw at the all Datacrons character level 2. We're starting to fight out here, and it's taking less and less hits as we get up there. I put a line in here for level 10, which is the most number of hits it took our all Datacrons character to complete. And for the most part, at 7, 8, and 9, we're getting close to that particular number. Again, no more losses, although some healing still had to take place to pull these off. Now let's look at the full averages. So we've added to this chart now with our 7, 8, and 9 runs. We didn't do those for our all Datacrons character. 7, 8, and here is the magic number. At level 9, we finally passed our level 2 all Datacrons character. This is pretty interesting in that you really don't have to do anything to do level 2. Like I said, walking to the boss got me to level 2. So if you explore 3 areas and haven't even done combat, you're going to hit level 2, and you're already more powerful than what it would take a level 9 player with no Datacrons to be. So if you start to think about a player who is saying, wow, some of this combat is hard for me, if they haven't done the Datacrons and they're a brand new player and they don't have the skills yet or the experience to play, it might actually be a little bit difficult because they're not putting out as much damage, they don't have as many hit points, they can't sustain hits, and that actually does make a big difference in the combat for a low level character. Obviously, as you go up in levels into the teens and 20s and 30s and eventually into the 70s, these stat bonuses aren't going to have this big of an effect. The percentage that these numbers are going to be a lot lower, but it's still that little bit of an edge. So now that we've analyzed the data, let's see the characters in action. On the left, we have a level 2 commando with no Datacrons collected. On the right, a level 2 commando with all the Datacrons collected. Let's see the difference. Datacrons, the difference between this and this. Thank you for watching. Deconstruction Gaming is dedicated to improving your gameplay experience, knowledge, and skill through game development style analysis and review of game systems and mechanics. Our mission is to provide you the information you need to make you a better player. If you found this information useful, please take the time to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support is critical in making the channel grow. If you subscribe, don't forget to hit the notification bell to be alerted when we upload new videos.